30 missiles from Iran hitting in Israel today. In fact, one of them had a direct hit on the Soroka Medical Center, the main hospital serving 1 million Israelis, Jews, Christians, Muslims, and others in the southern city of Beersheba. An extraordinary attack that, thank God, did not kill or wound as many as it could have, because the hospital had taken preemptive measures yesterday, evacuating the top floor. But this is a devastating attack. In fact, there's been attacks in Bat Yam, in Ramat Gan, and other places here. These are some missiles that actually got through, and it has caused real devastation. And it has created anger here in Israel. Defense Minister Israel Katz calling Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, Hitler, and said that he will pay. There's a sense at first of just trying to understand what's happening, first responders going to the scene. But now the question is, has this changed the calculus? Does this change in some way Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's offensive strategy? For example, there have been hints, implications by senior Israeli officials that maybe the gloves are off now and it's time to assassinate the Supreme Leader himself. That had not been so far in the first week of this war, something that seemed to be an Israeli objective. Israel has hit and hit hard Iran's military leadership, including the chief of staff of the Iranian military, equivalent to the the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, let's say, in the United States. And then when that chief of staff was killed by an Israeli airstrike on the first night of the war, Supreme Leader Khamenei appointed a new chief of staff of the Iranian military, and Israel killed him also. At the same time, Israel has assassinated the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. That's the main terror organization inside Iran, and that leader is dead. More than 30, I think we're approaching now 40 major top leaders of the Iranian military assassinated, killed by Israeli airstrikes. But so far, that has been military. Israel has not yet gone after civilian or religious leaders in Iran. And the question is, does this direct strike, which is really a war crime, every time Iran fires ballistic missiles at Israeli population centers, each one of these is a war crime. Okay. Now, is the fact that one of their missiles hit and created tremendous damage and hundreds of people wounded at the Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba, is that going to change the calculus? That's a good question. As I record this, that's not known. President Trump in recent days has advised Prime Minister Netanyahu not to target Supreme Leader Khamenei. That sort of decapitation strike. It could lead to regime change, but then what? How would that begin to play out? I talked to a former senior U.S. intelligence official in the last few hours, and he said right now the way Washington, the way the CIA, the way the Pentagon sees this whole thing is that Netanyahu and the IDF are doing a fantastic job taking out Iran's nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat. Now Israel has now taken out 2/3 of all of Iran's ballistic missiles. So, Israel's having tremendous success. But once you escalate into regime change, then I'm reminded of when former Secretary of State Colin Powell, under the administration of George W. Bush, when he talked about going into Iraq and regime change there, he supported that move, which was very controversial, to remove Saddam Hussein from power and send U.S. forces in. But Colin Powell, as Secretary of State at the time, said he subscribes to the Pottery Barn rule. You break it, you own it. And that's a challenge now. Does Israel have some strategy for the day after you kill the supreme leader of Iran, what happens then? What gets set into motion? Does the United States have such a strategy? I don't think either of those things are likely, but what I'm telling you is people are angry. Israeli officials are angry at the most senior level, and this thing could escalate soon. The other part is there was another direct attack and hit, missile hit by Iran in Bat Yam. This is a community that's just south of Tel Aviv. I was just there this morning with my wife, touring the devastation. 9 buildings, mostly apartment buildings, completely devastated. You cannot repair these. They will have to be leveled to the ground and completely rebuilt. There's another 10 or 12 buildings that were so badly damaged they are having to be assessed, but it's possible that entire neighborhood, that entire community, that will have to be leveled and rebuilt from scratch. 1,500 Israelis have been displaced, have had to move into hotels or into the homes of family and friends. 1,500, that's 10% of the entire small city of Bat Yam, again, a city of about 150,000 people just south of Tel Aviv. So some of these Iranian missiles, even though Israel's taking out many of them and intercepting many of them at a rate of about 80 to 90% shoot down rate, still, when these missiles get through, when they punch through and slip past Israeli air defenses, missile defenses, the effect is devastating. And we are now up to about 2,700 casualties between people killed in the several dozen category, but the rest, more than 2,700 Israelis wounded just in the last week from this intense missile battle between Israel and Iran. The other big question right now is President Trump going to send U.S. forces into battle to drop 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs on the key nuclear sites that are, like Fordo, Isfahan, Natanz, that are built in hardened underground facilities and in underground mountains, under mountains. So that's a big question. President Trump is moving now a third aircraft carrier strike group into the region. He has moved more than 20 refueling tanker planes. He's moving B-2 bombers, stealth bombers that can drop those 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. He's moved them into the region. He's moving other fighter jets and bombers into the region. President Trump has ordered the entire U.S. Navy detachment, the fleet that's based in a naval harbor, a military harbor in Bahrain, one of our Sunni Arab allies, and one of an American ally, but also one of the Abraham Accords signing partners. But our main naval base is in Manama, Bahrain. Manama is the capital of Bahrain. Well, what's happened? President Trump has ordered the fleet to leave the naval harbor. Why? So that they're on station, in position, ready to attack, but that the Iranians can't try to pull off a Pearl Harbor style attack, a sneak attack on a fleet, a U.S. naval fleet that is sort of sitting dormant. All of that shows you how high the stakes are, and it's possible. Trump is sending every message that he may attack. He even said yesterday that nobody knows whether he will attack or not attack. Now, that's true. Nobody knows, but all the evidence is one of two things. You could draw two conclusions. One conclusion is he is going to attack and sort of take the win. Israel has done the most damage and cleared the cleared the skies. There are no anti-aircraft batteries still functioning. Israel has done the dirty work, but Israel doesn't have 30,000-pound bunker busters. So Israel can keep attacking with smaller bombs that are still doing tremendous damage and just do it day after day after day over the next several weeks to finish off those nuclear sites. But the other scenario is that President Trump decides to order those B-2 bombers, stealth bombers, to drop these bombs and end this war faster. That's the assessment, that if U.S. does what Israel can't or can't do quickly, that could end this war faster. So that's one scenario, is that Trump's going to do it. And I think I would put it at about a 75 to 80% chance that Trump is going to order the strike. In his mind, he's ending a war, not starting it. This is a war that Iran started in 1979 with the United States and Israel. But the point is, Israel's done the vast majority of work, and President Trump could send U.S. bombers in to finish the job and to win the war. If Trump does it, it not only will destroy Iran's facilities quickly and maybe bring this war to an end sooner rather than later, but it will send a very strong message to Russia, China, and North Korea. Don't mess with President Trump. Don't mess with the United States. The world's only superpower is taking decisive action. So that's one scenario. But the other scenario is that Trump is preparing to is putting all his forces in place, getting everything ready so that he gets what he wants, which what Trump says that he wants on social media and in interviews is he wants the supreme leader of Iran to surrender. He's calling for a unilateral surrender, meaning Iran just gives up and steps off the stage and says, we give up our nuclear program, we give up our ballistic missile program, we're not going to fire anymore at Israeli sites or anybody else, we're done, we surrender. That's what Trump is pushing for. He does not accept the idea of a ceasefire. He said that publicly. Trump wants a win, a decisive win. And so by pre-positioning all these military assets, what he might be doing is pressuring Khamenei to realize that there is no way out of this, that Israel has won, that the U.S. is helping provide the environment for Israel to win, and that it's time for the Iranian leadership to cut its losses before they lose their lives and their power. And so I don't know which way. I would say, again, 75, 80% chance that Trump's going to actually order U.S. Military bombers into action. But I'm not sure that Trump knows right now. I think he's giving himself both scenarios, both options, and that he's sort of assessing moment by moment. But the breakthrough of several missiles from this barrage, the salvo of 30 missiles this morning, around 7:15 in the morning, a little bit after 7 in the morning here Israel time, and the fact that a missile hit directly at Israel's largest hospital in the south, in Beersheba, at Soroka Medical Center, a hospital that serves 1 million people in its region, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, among others. This may change Trump's own calculus. He has said very clearly that the Iranian killing of civilians has to stop. And that's what I want to end on this point. I want to end on the point that Iran is committing war crimes by attacking Israeli civilian population centers, cities, hospitals, and Israeli civilians are dying. Israel is not doing that. Israel's not attacking civilian population centers in Iran. Israel is attacking military sites, ballistic missile sites, nuclear sites, and the defense ministry and the head of the Air Force, and again, all military and intelligence and nuclear assets that Iran has. Israel's being very careful not to kill civilians. A few civilians, of course, sadly have been killed and some wounded, but that's not Israel's mission. It is Iran's mission. So where does this fight go from here? It is a winner take all. Either Israel's going to win this thing or Iran's going to win this thing. I don't see Iran have any tricks up its sleeve, but let's pray. And I ask evangelical Christians who are watching on the Rosenberg Report, our YouTube channel, and so forth, be praying for a total victory. Be praying for a quick end to this war. Be praying for Israel to be able to accomplish the job with President Trump's direct intervention or not, But also, let's be praying for a spiritual awakening here in this country. Israel's a country that we're a land where the Bible was written, and most people here don't read the Bible, so they don't get the comfort of having that relationship with the Lord and His Word. So there's a lot going on. Pray for Prime Minister Netanyahu to make wise decisions. Pray for President Trump that he would make wise decisions. And my view is that I do want to see regime change in Iran. I don't think Israel should make that a military objective. And I'm not sure President Trump should make it an objective. It may be an outcome once Israel's done its job and once the Iranian regime nuclear and missile and military capacity and threat has been stripped away and the Iranian regime is humiliated, then that could lead to the unraveling of the regime and the rise of a new world in Iran, including potentially the emergence of the former crown prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, whom I've interviewed on the Rosenberg Report. Could he come in the days, weeks, months ahead and lead a whole new Iran? I'm praying for that, but I'm not sure that the United States or Israel should make that their objective, even if it's their desire. Keep watching Rosenberg Report. Keep watching our YouTube channel. Please sign up. Please hit like on this YouTube exclusive. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this link with others on your social media so they understand what's happening and they become followers of ours as well, so we can brief them on all the latest. So news you can trust from Israel, from the epicenter. And don't forget to be tracking allisraelnews.com as well, where we're tracking things minute to minute, not on video primarily, but digitally. Thank you for watching. Keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and the liberation of Iran. From Jerusalem, this is Joel Rosenberg with a YouTube exclusive for the Rosenberg Report.